The lowlies are coming, everyone. Soberoni of G&A Reviews here with a servant spotlight for the destroyer of Discord, Illya von Einzbern. We'll be examining her stats and skills, as well as going over pointers on how to utilize her effectively, and an overall grade comparing her to how she stacks up to the other 5-star servants. I also have an in-depth guide for the event welfare Kuro up on the channel right now, so do check that out right after this, but for now, on to Illya's stats. Illya has a max HP of 13,825, which is low for a 5-star caster, but about average overall for a 5-star servant. Her max attack of 10,857 is one of the highest attack stats among the caster class, but with her 0.9 times attack modifier, her true attack of 9,771 is extremely low for a 5-star servant. Taking a look at her skills, her first skill is Happiness Mystic Code rank A, which increases her buster card effectiveness for one turn between 30 and 50% depending on level. Her second skill is Child of Nature rank B, which applies invincibility to herself for one turn and increases her NP gain for 3 turns between 18 and 28% depending on level. And finally, her last skill is Suspicious Medicine rank A, which has a 70% chance to apply Guts, reviving her one time over the course of 3 turns with 1000 HP. It also has a 70% chance to apply Nullified Debuff one time, and it restores between 1000 and 3000 HP depending on level. For her passives, she has Magic Resistance rank B, which increases debuff resist by 17.5%, and Unlimited Mana Supply rank C, which increases NP gauge per turn by 3%. Taking a look at her deck and Noble Phantasm, Illya has an Arts deck with Quick Arts Buster and a Buster Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is Quintet Furor, which increases her Buster card effectiveness for one turn between 20 and 80% depending on overcharge, and it also deals significant damage to a single enemy with between a 600% and 1000% damage modifier depending on level. It also has a demerit of decreasing her own attack and defense by 10% for 3 turns. And this Noble Phantasm can be upgraded through an interlude, which will increase the damage modifier to between 800 and 1200%, and it will also add the effects of increasing your Noble Phantasm gain for 3 turns by 20%, and increasing your critical start drop rate for 3 turns by 20%. Taking a closer look at her cards, we see that her Quick card hits 3 times, her Arts hits 5 times, her Buster hits once, and her Extra attack hits 5 times. She has an NP gain rate of 0.32% and a star rate of 10.7%. She has below average NP gain despite her triple Arts deck due to a low base NP gain rate, and she also has weak star generating due to only having one Quick card. Illya is a full-on offensive caster. She specializes in high single-target burst damage rather than doing sustained DPS over multiple turns like Medea, Da Vinci, or Sanzo, making her pretty unique even among offensive casters. And thanks to her high attack stat and her skills, she's very successful in her niche. Her primary damage skill is Happiness Mystic Code, which is literally just Mana Burst with a different name. It may be a plain skill, but it is still one of the best self-buffs in the game, and it's absolutely critical for maximizing damage. And because Illya has a single target Noble Phantasm, the damage boost from this skill is even more significant. In contrast to that, Illya also packs a very strong defensive skill in Child of Nature, which gives her invincibility for a turn. It's a great way of protecting herself from enemy Noble Phantasms, and it also gives her a good buff to Noble Phantasm gain, which helps offset her naturally low NP gain. Finally, Suspicious Medicine is her most unique skill. It's a targetable heal that also has a chance to give debuff immunity and guts. While a targetable heal is great, the RNG on this skill's secondary effects is a significant demerit, and in addition, despite being targetable, you will almost never want to use this skill on anyone but Illya herself because it's her only means of nullifying the big drawbacks on her Noble Phantasm. When it comes to skill priority for Illya, Happiness Mystic Code comes first because it's a gigantic buff to your burst damage and it's absolutely essential, followed by Suspicious Medicine for lower cooldown, and then Child of Nature last. I recommend leveling Suspicious Medicine before Child of Nature because you'll need the lower cooldown to have it more readily available for whenever you need to Noble Phantasm, whereas Child of Nature is more situational. And speaking of Noble Phantasm, there's a lot to say about Illya's. It's an extremely powerful Noble Phantasm thanks to the Buster buff it applies prior to the attack. It's effectively giving you at least a 70% buff when combined with Happiness Mystic Code. But with significant enough overcharge, you can get your Buster buff to over 100%. Having 2 mana bursts available for your Noble Phantasm makes it ridiculously strong. However, in exchange, Illya receives a significant debuff to her attack and defense. Thankfully, post-interlude, her Noble Phantasm is greatly improved with the addition of a 20% NP gain boost and a Star Gen buff. The Star Gen buff is completely negligible, but the Noble Phantasm gain buff is considerable given Illya's subpar base Noble Phantasm gain. Thanks to all of this, Illya's single turn burst damage is higher than any other casters, and she's easily capable of obliterating bosses with over 200,000 HP in a single shot. Very similar to Skahak. And just like Skahak, she also shares her major weakness, poor Noble Phantasm gain. Illya has a triple art stack, a passive that charges her NP bar, and 2 different NP buffs post-interlude. However, despite all of that, her Noble Phantasm gain is mostly just unimpressive because of how low her base NP gain rate is. Without all of her buffs active at once, she will struggle to Noble Phantasm more than once every few turns. During this recharge period after her Noble Phantasm, Illya is very vulnerable, especially if she's stuck with those demerits on her Noble Phantasm, and her non-Noble Phantasm damage is very low as it is. Unfortunately, Illya has no guaranteed way of avoiding these demerits without help, and because she has no supportive skills, like other offensive casters do, she actually becomes a liability to the team after she Noble Phantasms, making her a poor choice for longer, more sustained fights. Her mixed deck also doesn't do her any favors because it doesn't allow her to Buster Brave Chain, which is a considerable liability to her damage. In other words, if Illya can't kill it in one turn with her Noble Phantasm, you might want to rethink your options. And for Illya, more so than any other servant, the right team makes a world of difference. And that's because Illya trades extreme power for a lot of flaws. But if you have a team that can cover up for these flaws, she can be devastatingly powerful. First and foremost, she needs a Noble Phantasm battery. Hans, Waver, Sanzo, Tamamo, Helena, and Nero Bride are ideal for this. Sanzo in particular also provides Illya a way of avoiding the demerit on her Noble Phantasm, so they ironically make a perfect pair. Speaking of which, servants that can remove debuffs or improve Illya's buff rate are also recommended, so Ozymandias, post-strengthening quest Kuro, Marie, Martha, Medea, and Medea Lily are all perfect for this. Finally, servants that can buff her and soften targets like Shakespeare, Nightingale, Liz, Shuten, and even Edison through his 3rd skill are highly recommended. Illya's Bondcraft Essence is Phantasm Summoning Install. It boosts the Arts, Buster, and Quick Card effectiveness of all allies by 8%. It's decent, but it's not the best choice for her. Illya is all about damage, so go for Limited Zero, Golden Sumo, Black Grail, or True Samadhi Flame. If you want more Noble Phantasm gain to make up for her inconsistency, then you can go with Prisma Cosmos because it has synergy with her passive, or Divine Banquet, Little Halloween Devil, or Fox Knight's Dream. 2 of the new craft essences from the event also pair really well with her, those being Kaleido Ruby for more damage, or Magical Girl Sapphire for Noble Phantasm gain. Overall, Illya is a powerhouse. No other caster can match her raw damage output, and her Noble Phantasm is strong enough to kill most normal enemies and bosses in one hit. And she has good survival in the form of her invincibility and heal. However, she has massive drawbacks in the form of a mixed deck that doesn't allow her to Buster Brave Chain, she has poor Noble Phantasm gain to prevent her from spamming, she has bad demerits attached to her Noble Phantasm, and she lacks team utility. Plus the RNG tied to her 3rd skill makes her inconsistent. Therefore, overall she gets a B from me. Illya is tough to judge because her usefulness will vary greatly depending on your team comp. If you do not have a Noble Phantasm battery that can keep her Noble Phantasm gain high, and someone who can consistently clear her demerits, you will notice that she struggles a lot in longer battles, making her not so good for challenge quests or against enemies with break bars. However, if you do have the right team for her, she can be an absolute beast that shoots her Noble Phantasm off every other turn with no demerits, giving even Sanzo a run for her money. And those are my thoughts on Illya. I recommend rolling for her if you do need an offensive caster. She won't do you wrong, and personally she is also my go-to caster along with Nero. But let me know what you guys think, and if you plan on rolling for her in the comments below, and please also check out the Kuro Spotlight, link both on screen right now and in the description. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. Join the party over at our Discord, and chill us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter. And I will see you all in the next Servant Spotlight. Soberoni out. Later.